Yeah, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Kurt, coach of the Adelaide Absols, bringing you week 6 of APA Season 3. This week we take on Deathly I Am and the Seattle Drizzlers. So this week for the team prep, I actually brought a rather slow, bulky team. It was a bulky offensive Trick Room Mesprit, a sub Roost Kieran Black, bulky Mega Guard, Rest Talk Carmine Spiritomb with Dark Pulse, Defog U-Turn Knockoff, Defog Knockoff EQ Roost Gliscor, and a defensive Vaporeon. On Deathly's side we see Tornadus, Politoed, Espeon, Registeel, Goodra, and that Mega Swampert. So without further ado, let's get into this game. Going into this game, I was sort of debating my lead. Mesprit was a really good lead as it had a really good matchup against everything but Registeel in the leads. Being that it has Thunder and Energy Ball as well as Psyshock to just hit everything. As he does lead with the Tornadus, I just lead straight with Mesprit. There was no better lead for me. I couldn't risk a superpower on my Kyurem. There was too much damage to go on other things. I just go straight to the Trick Room here as he goes into the Registeel. Trick Room was obviously my best play here. I could have gone for a Thunder and risked a miss and revealed it early. So here I'm forced to hard switch out into my my Vaporeon, sorry. Vaporeon hard warped this thing unless it had like a random Thunder Punch. If he goes for the Iron Head, it does really nothing. So Vaporeon gets a free, gets to do whatever it wants this turn. But I do actually double out into my Gliscor just in case I could catch that Tornadus on the switch in. Being able to knock off its item, but he does go for the Power Up Punch. So when I saw the Power Up Punch, it really threw me off here. I didn't know what his set was, what he was planning to do, whether he was Shocker, what he wanted to do. But he does switch out here. I just go straight for the knockoff. There was no reason not to knock off. No, I go for the Earthquake, sorry. There was no reason not to Earthquake. His only switch in was this, and I can just click knockoff. I take a Specs Hurricane. I have Trick Room up, so I outspeed. So getting rid of the choice specs here is really nice. It just means that I don't take as much damage from this thing. I'm still taking about 50%, so that reveals to me that he's probably modest Tornadus as the Trick Room ends. I am forced to switch back out. There's nothing I can do here. I go hard Vaporeon. It can take whatever this thing throws at it. I can eat, but I don't eat that very well because of a crit. As I do get the leftovers recovery. I don't think I can take one after that crit, but he does just hard switch out here into his Politoed. Politoed was really annoying for me. I had 0 switch-ins to this other than what's in right now. So I'm just going to double out here into my Kieran Black. This was always a free substitute every time. He couldn't break the sub, he couldn't toxic me, so this was a free sub. So I just go straight for the sub. There's no reason not to sub here. As he goes for a Perish Song, meaning that my Kieran Black can't stay in here. It's just physically not possible. I'm forced back out, which means that the sub Roost set can't do anything until this Politoed dies. As I just double straight back into I just go straight back into Vaporeon as he goes for the Scald, which is super nice. I get all of that health back, plus the leftovers recovery. Just meaning that I don't have many problems with this. As he does switch out here. I just fire off a Toxic. There's no reason not to Toxic because his only switching for a Toxic is Registeel, and there's no way he's switching in a Registeel on a rain boosted Stab Scald. So I get the poison off on Goodra, which is really nice. He also reveals that he isn't Hydration, which is super nice, meaning he is a Sap Super Goodra to cover the Swampert's weakness, which is really good prep on his part, but meaning that he can't get rid of the toxic without rests. And from this damage, I can instantly assume that he is a Specs Gudra, which is really unfortunate because I have 0 switch-ins to this. If he has a poison move, I can't switch into guard. I can't go into Gliscor because it dies to a Draco. As he just goes straight into the Registeel, I'm just going to fire off a Psyshock here. Probably doing absolutely nothing really. Not very effective. Registeel eating that. So basically I'm forced out here again. I can't let this Mesprit take too much damage. Mesprit does a lot of work to this team under Trick Room. So I just go straight into my Gliscor, as he just goes for another Iron Head. So Gliscor is getting really weak here from the Iron Heads. The Poison Heal giving me back some HP, so I know I can take one more. My best play here is to just Roost or Earthquake. There's no reason to go for the knockoff and risk him going back into this. So I'm just going to go for the Roost, making sure I can take one Hurricane from this without Specs. So the rain stops, meaning that he does have a chance to miss Hurricanes, which is super nice. I sort of have to rely on that, but I'm just going to double out here, straight into my guard. This play here was a really big misplay. I shouldn't have gone hard guard. I should have gone into my Spiritomb or my Kyurem. I knew Kyurem could take one, but I went into the guard, meaning it took extra chip that it didn't need to take. Outside of rain, this thing did a lot of work because the Swampert could not switch into this. It beat Gudra, it beat the Politoed. Registeel and the Espeon were the only real worries I had for this. But I still went into this as he does land the Hurricane. I don't know why I went guard here. Taking almost 50%. I know even with Mega, it would be a roll to take another one. So he's just going to go hard Registeel, as I'm just going to double back out because I know I can't outspeed the Tornadus. He just goes, as I just go straight into my Gliscor, there's no reason for me not to. Every time this is in, I'm better off just clicking Earthquake or Knockoff or something. There's no reason not to. I was scouting for a Shucker Berry from the Registeel, meaning that I couldn't kill it in one hit. As I just go for the Earthquake, he goes into Politoed here. It takes a decent chunk from uninvested, so that reveals he's physically defensive, meaning that my Kyurem would have been able to kill this thing. I'm just going to go straight back into Vaporeon again. I have no reason not to go for it. As he just goes for the Toxic. Unfortunate. I couldn't do anything about it. If I had stayed in and gone for another Earthquake and risked a Scald, I would have taken over 50% in the rain. So I had to go into my Vaporeon here on the Scald. As he just switches out into the Gudra again. Again, my best play here is just... I just go for a Heal Bell, meaning that my Gliscor and my Vaporeon are no longer toxic, which is really nice. I also get rid of the Para on Mesprit, meaning that I can outspeed the Politoed outside of... I can outspeed the Gudra. Again, I'm pretty sure. I forget if I outspeed it or not. So I'm just going to go hard into my Gliscor. There's no reason for me not to. I think just goes straight for the Draco Meteor. It was this turn that really revealed to me that he was Specs. With the amount of damage I took on the specially defensive Gliscor, it almost killed. So that was definite Specs. He got a lower roll. It was a roll to kill from that range. So here Gliscor really can't do anything. I'm just gonna go for the Roost because I know that at -2 I can take one Draco from this thing. As he just goes straight for another Draco. I can Roost up on this thing, it can't do anything. I do live the second Draco. Getting the poison heal off. Getting some more HP back. This also means that he's taking extra damage on his Gudra, which is super nice because later on I'm able to kill this thing just because of the chip damage. He does go straight into Swampert. As I just go for another Roost, I have no reason not to be clicking Roosts. I can eat anything that Gudra wanted to throw at me at that point. I get my health back. And it puts me in a better range to deal with Iron Heads from Registeel. As I'm just going to go straight into Vaporeon here. I have no reason not to. He did click Mega here, the game just didn't Mega Evolve, but he does go straight for the Waterfall. And so, here he goes for the Mega again. Just getting his Mega off. Mega Swampert was a real threat inside of Rain. There was nothing I could do. As he just goes for another Waterfall. I knew I could take 2 Earthquakes from this and Wish, so I just get a Toxic off on this, which is super nice. Getting a Toxic off onto this Swampert means that it's going to be taking extra chip damage. It can't stay in a lot versus this Vaporeon. I can just fire off Scalds. He just goes for the Earthquake. I know that I can take Adamant Swampert Earthquakes, as it does about 40%-ish. I just go for a Wish. Here I can just fire off a Scald. There's no reason for me not to. I can just fire off Scalds, because he can't touch this. Earthquake's doing really nothing. He switches out though and he goes into the Registeel to take the Scald, which Vaporeon really does nothing, so I really didn't know what this Registeel was. It was really throwing me off what he had on this Registeel. I didn't know what to expect from this Registeel. My play every time was just go straight into my Gliscor. It took an Iron Head, but he does go for a Power Punch. Last time this happened, he switched. So here I'm just going to go for an Earthquake. I think my best play for me right now is to Earthquake. I can't risk this thing staying. So I just go straight for the Earthquake. I know I'm not going to kill. I know I can take an Iron Head. So now his Registeel's low on health. And he pulls out the Ice Punch. So +1 Ice Punch will be enough to take me out here, unfortunately. So Gliscor does go down. It did a lot of work. Got a nice chip onto this Registeel. The Tornadus no longer has its choice specs. It got chip damage onto the Politoed. I go into Vaporeon, so he's forced out with his Registeel. So that's showing me he can't touch this Vaporeon. I just go straight for the Scald, no reason not to. Don't get a burn onto the Politoed, as he just goes for another Perish Song, which is going to force me back out. I can't stay in here. So I just fire off a Toxic. Getting a Toxic off on this thing is big, because this thing is so fat, I can't break it physically. Most of my Mons remaining are special though, so I would be able to break it, but that also means that I couldn't break the Registeel, with it being so low on health. So he's just going to switch out here and go straight into the Gudra. This Gudra was a real threat, there was nothing I could do about this. But I do double out here into my Mesprit. I was originally, when this thing come out, I was going to just sack so that I could get Guard in and Mega and click a Hyper Voice on something. That was my play here. I had to sack this thing, there was nothing I could do. But he does miss the Draco Meteor, and Mesprit goes straight for the Psyshock, doing a nice chunk and killing the Gudra, meaning that Mesprit picking up 1 kill here. As he just goes straight into Registeel. This Registeel is really annoying. I don't think I can kill it from here, but my best play is always to just switch out. I have to switch straight into Vaporeon, there's nothing I can do. So he goes for the Iron Head, just trying to get chip damage off onto my Mesprit. I don't let him get that chip damage. He does get a crit. Still doing nothing thanks to Vaporeon's defense and just natural bulk. He switches out here into the Tornadus, as I just go straight for a Scald. I have no reason not to Scald here. Rain boosted Scalds from this thing are doing a lot of damage. Doing about 50% to that Tornadus, which is really nice, because it means that something else can revenge kill it later. As he just goes back into the Registeel, I have no reason not to just Scald again. So he's sacking Registeel here, there's nothing he could do about that. I don't get a burn though, so I am just wasting rain turns that I could be using to get Scald damage off. So I'm just going to Scald again. I do outspeed the Registeel, meaning I do kill the Registeel with Vaporeon. So 5-4, my favor after losing Gliscor. The rain stops, so my Scald isn't doing as much to this Tornadus anymore, so I'm pretty sure he can take 2. But he does just go straight into the Swampert. There's no reason for him not to go Swampert. I know he has the Earthquake, so I know that I can take 1. I can easily go Mesprit at some point, because this is doing nothing. So I just fire off a Wish here. Wish was my best play. I could Toxic. I still needed this thing to deal with the Espeon and the Tornadus, potentially. Even though the Mesprit can take 1 from Tornadus, not at this range, but if I get the Wish off to the Mesprit, that means I can get 1 off on the Tornadus. I can take 1. His Swampert is really bulky, eating that Scald really well. The Toxic is what's going to rack up though, and force him into either switching out or... but he does reveal Rest, so this Rest means that my Vaporeon can't break this at all. This 1v1's my Vaporeon. I just don't do enough damage. So I just go for another Scald here, doing about 25-ish%. So that's super nice to get that damage off. Means that something can either kill it later. So I'm just going to hard switch out here, just go straight into my Mesprit. I know I can take a Waterfall outside of Rain. I can take an Earthquake. So he reveals he's not Sleep Talk, so I would assume that he has like Ice Punch or something to deal with my... just to hit my Kyurem Black a little harder. Or Superpower, I don't know. I just go straight for the Trick Room though while he's asleep, meaning that my Mesprit is faster than all of his remaining Mons inside of this Trick Room. So I'm just going to go straight for the Energy Ball here. I have no reason not to. Energy Ball kills this thing every time. So getting rid of Swampert was nice. It was a threat, honestly, to my team. I had nothing to break it outside of this Mesprit. So him being Rest and not Sleep Talk was really nice to me. He just goes straight into Tornadoes at about 75%. Here I rushed and accidentally hit Energy Ball. I was trying to see if my Thunder would kill, as he lands his Hurricane as well. So that's doing a decent chunk. He does get the 10% Confusion, which is really big, because if I hit myself in Confusion, then I have nothing to break this, because Guard cannot take 1. So I have to hit through this and hit my Thunder to kill this, as I do hit through the Confusion and land the Thunder, which is really nice, meaning I can kill that Tornadus, and Mesprit picking up yet another kill. Getting some leftovers recovery. I can't break that Espeon with this, I just don't do enough damage, and there's only 1 turn of Trick Room left. I'm confused. I do hit myself in Confusion though, so that guarantees the kill for this Espeon. Just go straight for the Shadow Ball. And unfortunately, Mesprit does drop. So, really unfortunate there. Here I just go into Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black gets a free sub versus this thing with that Dazzling Gleam. Free Roost, sorry. So if I can Roost... He does go for the Psychic. I had to Roost here. I knew I could take a Psychic. If he was Dazzling Gleam, I died. But I get the sub. I can freely Roost. It does break my sub, but I get the Roost off. I get some extra recovery. He just goes for the Psychic again to just break the sub. I really have no switch into this at all. So I just go straight for the Ice Beam. Doing a nice chunk of damage. About 60%, 60, 75%. As he does reveal the Dazzling Gleam. So, when I didn't see Life Orb, I was really fearing a Z move for my Spiritomb. Unfortunately, Kyurem Black goes down. I have to go hard into my Spiritomb. This is my only play. If I had Sucker Punch, I killed here. But since I was Rest Talk with Calm Mind, he does go straight for the Z move, so unfortunately Spiritomb just drops. Spiritomb wasn't really needed this late game, as Vaporeon took 1 and clicked Scald and could beat the Politoed 1v1. As he just goes for the Twinkle Tackle. There is no way my Spiritomb was taking this. I knew that I couldn't take it. He does get a crit, which doesn't matter because I knew I couldn't take it. So I just go straight into my Vaporeon here. I'm fearing a grass coverage move for this, as he just goes for the Psychic, revealing he doesn't have it. Which is really nice because I know my Vaporeon can take that. I get a Wish off here, meaning that I'm at full health to deal with this Politoed. It's toxic, it's weak, meaning I can just get a free Scald off right now and just kill this Espeon. So it's not looking too good for Deathly. Politoed is his only real answer here. So I'm sort of just sitting here with Vaporeon. It beats this Politoed 1v1. The Perish Song just means I have to go guard and potentially sack it to a Scald to get it back in without the Perish Song. So I'm just going to go straight for a Scald here. I have no reason not to. He hasn't been able to remove that. He hasn't been able to remove the Toxic or anything. He hasn't revealed Rest. So I get off a Scald, doing a decent chunk of damage. With the Toxic damage, it puts him in range of another Scald plus Toxic. As he just goes for a Scald, knowing that he can't touch this thing. Seeing as I have Heal Bell, I'm able to get around the Toxic Stall from this thing, as he's hurt by Poison again. Perish Song falls to 2. He goes for the Toxic though. He had no reason not to just click Toxic there. There was nothing he could do here. He had to just Suicide. So Vaporeon going for the Scald, finishing off the game, and we pick up our second win in week 6, going 2-4 versus Deathly. Was a really good game. I really enjoyed that game. The Draco miss sucked for him. It meant that Mesprit got too many kills when it shouldn't have. I got the Trick Room up for free. But other than that, it was a really good game. So I hope to see you all in week 7.